don't know which direction you want to take this, John, but they probably don't need James Harden, I guess. Like, looking at how they look right now.
They don't need James Harden.
That's the whole thing.
Way better now than they would be with James Harden.
It's not only not needing James Harden. I don't think anybody wants James Harden. I think like analysts are losing their minds. I think analysts are losing their minds. Like, how does nobody want James Harden? And like nobody wants to give up anything real right now. Like, if you have a controllable, star player like a Simmons, like you don't want. I don't think Philly wants to do that. I think this is. I think all of this. I think all of it is Houston plants.
Well, when the GM, and it's easy to do, the GM comes out for Philadelphia and says, we're not doing this. Let's see how they start. I'm lower on that team than most people. If they get off to a shaky start, all of a sudden that phone's going to be a lot more enticing to grab for them. The trick for Philadelphia, though, is that as we talk about some of the other suitors, Philadelphia probably doesn't have a strong feeling that they can keep them beyond 2 years. And you kind of need that to make a deal like that, especially when you have a Ben Simmons wrapped up for 5 years. So they're going to see what they have there. And you were right, John. Like, it just kind of was a call out to the Wild saying, we have suitors here. Is anyone going to step up to the plate and, cross the fence? And no one's biting. Like, between the fat thing that we talked about last week, the return, the contract, just the whole way he's handled this, it has definitely sunk his value, which, probably didn't work out the way he wanted it to either.
Well, they need to trade Harden before he eats himself out of the league, and I think he's becoming dangerously close based on the pictures that started to surface. So, listen, if Philly starts off abysmal, like what if Philly starts off we're talking about the Celtics struggling. What if Philly starts off 2-7 or something?
It's gonna get
like
tempting.
That's what Houston is going to have to bank on. A team struggling out of the gates. A little fear strikes the front office and says, you know what, this guy James Harden's available. We can pull the trigger on it right now and put a little shock into this season and maybe get something going here. I mean, that's kind of, I think, what Houston has to hope happens to a team like Philadelphia. Because that I can totally see that happening if Philadelphia stumbles out of the gates. And you know how it is in Philly. Everyone's gonna the rumblings are gonna start and the fans are going to get restless, and all of a sudden everyone's going to be demanding James Harden, and see you later, Simmons or whatever. Even might not be the right move, but it might be something that they feel like they have to do. Either way, I'll tell you what, the rumors already circulating around Philly. Oh, I can't hear Joe Sway. Can you guys?
I got him.
All right. I'll dip out. I can't hear.
So go ahead, Joe Sway. We heard you.
No. I just don't get how Toronto just at least pick up the phone. I guess I'm maybe I'm weighing too much of playoff performance I saw from Pascal Siakam. Maybe that's what it is. And obviously that's unfair. He went into that playoffs in a completely different role compared to playing alongside someone like Kawhi Leonard. So maybe that's unfair. But the whole seeing him put together the season that he put together and then selling that right now before he shows you that maybe he can't do that again, jump on this or maybe pair him.
Well, that's why we're at a stalemate here.
Different directions you can go with this. Toronto has options. You could send, OG, or you could pair Lowry. I think they have the pieces to in the end get it done. It's just one of those things where maybe they're the team that applies pressure for a team like Philly to jump in. I think
that's why we're at a stalemate.
That's probably what might happen with a team like Toronto.
If no one's offering their premium asset now, and that's what Pascal Siakam still is for them, why would anybody? We'll get creative.
Everyone's trying to get it on the cheap.
We'll pull in a third team. We'll give you OG or one of our lesser guys here. We'll give you, Fred VanVleet's contract, but Pascal Siakam's off the table. And that's another team. We know how Toronto is. The media will sit here and say, oh, they're probably going to dip off this year. But they believe very much that the team they have this year is going to be competitive in the East and as good as anyone. They lost a few pieces, but the core is still intact. So they're in no rush to do this either. John, are we at a spot where a Charlotte or a Sacramento or a team like that's just going to come out and be like, all right, let's do it. No one else wants them.
Exactly.
No,
I don't know. The whole thing. And you know what? The Harden thing. I watched the post game interview, or it was the interview with the media.
I'm still waiting for Kyrie's comments. Has he talked yet?
I was looking for that too. I haven't seen anything.
The blackout is resumed.
Is he not talking?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
No, he's gonna talk. He's in Boston, kid.
That's my thing. If he doesn't talk about it, then it's like, all right, what are you doing? Like,
why are you guys making a big deal out of it? It's gonna be a media problem. You realize?
Hey, I want to read. All right, yeah. We're talking Harden, so I'll stick to Harden. But the thing I noticed about Harden was, so the media asked Harden all about why didn't you show up to camp on time? Why were you in Vegas or wherever he was and not in
Tim
camp?
McMahon killed him.
Do you think it's a distraction? This, that, the other thing. It's like, this is not going to go away. It never has ever ended well for anybody involved when this becomes like the talking point of your team. I mean, the season is just underway, and this is what you're dealing with. It's really not fair to his teammates, especially. So
it feels like he could end up stuck there for the season, the way it's going, because they have.
That's what I was saying. I think it's very possible.
That's what John said.
And you know what? They once they finally reel him in, and like I said, he can shed all that fat pretty quickly. We've seen it before with him. Things could end up all right there. Once the noise ends and the deadline passes and some of the other pieces fit into place there, their team's not too bad. I respect the coach there, what he's done in Dallas. So this could eventually simmer down, but these first few weeks are going to be tough, Jimmy. You're right. And again, how you start's important.
You hear about that culture that was going on in Houston?
Hey, well, they made the West Finals with it a couple times.
Yo, if that's all facts, if there's no exaggerating in that, man, how could someone even? But that's what scares me. Is that's the future of the NBA? A player can have that much control over an organization. Man, that's scary, guys.
The weeks that have passed there have been so perplexing and out of control, and just the biggest.
Some people were talking about, though, you know what I'm talking about, right? The report saying that he would control when if he wanted to stay in a city an extra day, if the team needed to stay, or he wanted to stay in the city that night, they would stay an extra night, and if the travel schedule went around his comfort level or whatever, that's incredible. And there's no way you can say that, Bobby, because someone like John Wall or whoever, any other newcomer, are going to be like, this is ridiculous. How do you buy into something like that so quickly too?
Well, it's not stunning from the guy who reportedly pushed for that Russell Westbrook trade, and that was no minor move, especially for a guy who was only a couple of years from free agency. I mean, they mortgaged the future on Russell Westbrook just to dump a good player in Chris Paul. It's going to go down as one of the worst trades ever.
Terrible.
It was a poor point for that franchise. God. Oh, it's not fun to be. I have a good friend who's a Rockets fan, and I have felt bad for him these last.
Why would you feel bad for them? What have they done to deserve your sympathy?
Oh, it's just a brutal situation. It's as bad as
screw them.
Who cares?
Maybe for blowing the 3-1 lead, but that's about it.
Who cares?